Guys, it's Thursday. Thought we would do some baking. So if you caught last week's video, I had talked about doing a hot fudge brownie bread. Our friend here in the neighborhood, Charlotte, had sent it to me on Facebook, and remember I posted it on the group if you're involved in the group, and it looks to die for. And will probably give you 8 different kinds of diabetes in the process, but it's okay because it's going to taste fantastic. So that's what we're going to make today, is this hot fudge brownie bread, and see how it turns out, right? It's really a very simple recipe. Dare I say kid friendly. This would be something that you could let your kids do, for that matter, if you're so inclined. I'm not using a mixer today. I'm not using a stand mixer, not a hand mixer, nothing. We're just going to use some whisks and a spoon, and we're going to make this come true, I think. So yeah, I mean, pretty much it just is. You need very few things. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is your first video. I hope you get something out of this video. Maybe check out some of my other videos if you're so inclined. There's lots of cooking and baking ideas on this channel. I am steadily working on getting them, at least the cooking videos, separated into different playlists. Right now they're all on one giant playlist. It's like, I don't know, 200 videos long, 200 plus videos long. And so far I've got chicken done. I'm also going to do one for pork, one for beef. And then if I get the opportunity, we'll break it down further into like Tex-Mex, things of that nature. Because there's a lot to choose from, and I don't want anybody to have to waste time going through literally 200 and some videos to try to find them. I've done the same thing with my baking videos, and I'm going to try to get that done a little more detailed in the long run. I know a lot of YouTubers don't really focus on that, but I think it would be easier for you guys to find recipes that you may want to try. If you're returning or one of our new subscribers, welcome back and thank you. That being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. That helps get us out in the algorithm, which will help us grow our neighborhood into a small village and get us up to that $5,000 subscribers that our goal is for this year. I think that would be kind of cool, right? 5,000 people, that's like a small village. We would hit village status, or at least large neighborhood. So I think that's it. Comments always welcome. Feel free to comment. You can even disagree. All I ask is, if you do disagree with me or anybody in the comments, is be thoughtful. Think before you type. That's all I ever ask. I will give you all your measurements in cups, tablespoons, teaspoons. We will also do milliliters and grams. That way everybody can play along, right? All right, well, let's head on down here to the counter and we'll get started on this hot fudge brownie bread. Hold on for me just 1 second. All right, so before I forget to tell you, first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven 350 degrees. We're almost there now. We're at 335 and building. And then you're going to take a 9x5 bread pan, and I went ahead and I floured it. I buttered it, floured it, and then I stuck a piece of parchment paper in the bottom of it. I am a firm believer in parchment paper at the bottom of any breads or cakes. It just gives you that extra little bit of security, knowing that bad boy, all I have to focus on is the edges, right? All right, there's our oven. And I know the bottom's gonna come off because it's buttered, it's floured, it's got the parchment paper, so sides pops right out. Once we get those two things done, the other things you're gonna need is pretty much just a couple of bowls. Now I've got a smaller bowl here for dry, and then I've got a medium-sized bowl here for wet. The reason why I have them like that is because the dry is gonna go into the wet. So we're gonna start with the dry ingredients first, and the first thing I've got in the bowl already is 1 cup, 120 grams of all-purpose flour. To this, I am going to add a quarter cup or a half a cup, 40 grams of unsweetened cocoa, whatever your preferred unsweetened cocoa is. Sometimes I use Dutch process, but I found a bag of just regular old unsweetened cocoa, 100% cocoa, down in the basement, and I thought, well, let's use this. Why not? I almost always use Dutch process, but this sounded fun too. So we're gonna put that in there, and then to that we are going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder, a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of kosher salt, baking powder, kosher salt. And then we'll go ahead and get that in there. It's a humid day today. I don't know if it's really like the best day for baking, but in my mind, baking waits for nobody. Which is probably why I'm gonna end up with diabetes eventually. So we got those in there, and the last thing we're gonna add into our dry is some sugar. I've got some regular old granulated sugar, 1 cup, 200 grams. Same stuff you'd put in your coffee or your cereal or your sweet tea, depending on where you live and who you are. And we'll get that in there, and then we're just gonna take a whisk, and we're gonna make sure this is completely combined. No big clumps in your, because cocoa has a tendency to clump, and we want to get those out and make sure everything's together good. All right, we are combined and basically looking like hot cocoa mix, which, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like. I don't know if you'd want to use this hot cocoa mix that's got flour in it, but, you know, to each their own. So the next thing we're going to do in our larger bowl is we're just going to add 3 more ingredients. I mean, literally just 3 more ingredients, and we will be in good shape. I've got 2 large eggs, 100 grams. Get those in there. I've got a half a cup, 114 grams of butter, and it's melted, right? And I've let it cool. You don't want to take it straight out of the microwave or however you melt your butter and dump it right on those eggs. You'll cook your eggs. So melted butter, cooled back down to not quite room temperature because it'll turn back into butter, but close enough. And then the very last thing is going to be 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla, and that's probably closer to 6, really. I like vanilla. It's one of my favorite food groups, so to speak. And then what we're going to do is we're going to whisk this together until it's smooth and creamy. And I'm using an egg beater whisk. I think it works better for things like this, and I just think it's the coolest whisk in the world. Okay, so smooth and creamy. We are, not that you can really see that. Yeah, you can, there you go. Good to go. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our dry and we're gonna put it into our wet, and we're just gonna stir it. And I am gonna use a whisk, but I'm not gonna sit here and whisk it. I'm just gonna stir it because we just wanna put it in a little bit at a time, kind of slow. Yeah, and we're gonna go until it's, you know, barely incorporated. Okay, so we went ahead, I switched over to a spatula because it got thick on me. It's dense, right? And I kind of figured it would be because it has the word brownie in it. Anything that has the word brownie in it seems to be thick because brownies are thick. So we've got that mixed in. Now our last ingredient is a half a cup, 110 grams of hot fudge sauce, right? And you can just buy it at the store, or I mean, if you have a recipe and you're so inclined to make your own, have at it. But I just went ahead and bought some at the store, and we are going to take this and we're just going to swirl it in, right? We don't want to completely mix it in because we want it to have that swirl throughout the bread, which I found this portion of the recipe a little odd, only because I don't know why you wouldn't put this in after you put it in the bread pan, but it could be because that way you don't take off your flour and your butter off the sides of your pan. I don't know. But so what we're going to do is, now that I've got that in there, is, and this is laying on the top, yeah, it hasn't gone anywhere, is I'm just going to take my spatula here and I'm just going to kind of fold it in a little bit and swirl as I go. Okay, so we've got our fudge put in there. Sorry, I had hit my mouse. Got our fudge in and it's swirled in. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's like glossy spots and not so glossy spots throughout the batter. So we're gonna go ahead and get this in our bread pan. All right, now that we've got it in our bread pan, we're gonna go ahead and smooth it out so it's even. If not, you'll have a giant lump of chocolate bread in the center of your loaf pan, and it won't be probably done in the center. Yeah, evenness is important. Breads and cakes both, or dessert breads and cakes. I don't know about just regular bread, because I can honestly say, other than some non-bread, I have never actually made bread. Get that evened out. Now let's grab my offset spatula here real quick and scrape all this goodness off of this rubber spatula, because we don't want to leave any chocolate behind, right? That's like an unwritten sin or something, I think. Give that one quick smooth over with the offset. If you don't own offset spatulas, you should. They're not expensive, and they are almost like a baker's necessity, at least a home baker. Well, I mean, I would even say semi-pro, maybe even pro. I don't know any pro bakers, but I know at least one semi-pro baker, and a lot of home bakers. All right, so let's go ahead and get this in the oven, and we're going to talk about how long to bake this for. Okay, so we got her in the oven, and I am going to let this bake for 50 to 55 minutes. Now, with my oven acting the way it's been over the last couple weeks with cakes, I'm going to check it at 50, but I'm almost going to say an hour for at least my oven. It is no different than a cake. We're going to look for, firmness on the top, right? It should have a little bounce, but not dip down in. It shouldn't be wet, and if we stick a toothpick in it, it should come out clean. So when I come back, we will have it out of the oven. We'll check for those things and talk about what to do after that. All right, see you here in just 1 second. Okay, so we just got our bread out of the oven. It didn't raise quite as much as I was hoping it would, but that's all right. We're still batting 1,000, but there we are. Now, we got a couple tests to do on it, right? We're gonna take a toothpick. We're gonna stick it in the center. It's got a nice crisp top. And then pull her all the way out. And I can never tell when I'm filming if you can actually see anything, but there's actually nothing on there, no batter, just a little bit of crumb, very little crumb. And then we'll go ahead and pat the top. We're good and we're firm, so that tells me we're done, and I can go ahead and shut the oven off. So now what do we do? Well, now all we have left to do is go ahead. We're going to let this sit for 10 minutes on this rack inside this pan. Once that 10 minutes is up, which I'll just go ahead and start a timer, we'll take it out of the pan and just let it cool down completely on the rack. So when I come back, I'll probably have it out of the pan, and we'll be able to try a piece and see how and look inside and see how it tastes. All right, I'll see you here in just one moment. All right, we got her out of the pan and let her cool down on the rack for about 45 minutes. And while I ate lunch, had a lovely grilled chicken sandwich and some mac and cheese with green chilies. It was quite delicious. So now all we have left to do is give her a cut, and we can try some. We'll save the end piece. I like the end piece though, by the way. I am an end piece person, but many people are not. And maybe we'll get the end piece out of the way. There we go. There's our inside there. Oop, sorry. Not looking too shabby. Looks like a nice bread. And now we can grab our piece there. Now I will say, and I was thinking this when we were making it. Let me bring you back out here so we can have a conversation. Whoop. Because we talked about having the veins of chocolate fudge in it, and I don't really see any as of this moment. And I was wondering, with putting it in there before we put it in the pan, if it would end up going into the fudge or into the bread itself, you would be able to see veins of it, and I would have to almost say I was correct. Let me move you over this way just a hair. There we go. Now I can see your smiling face, but that's all right. We're not going to give up hope, because I'm here to tell you, the kitchen smelled wonderful. Now not so much because it's been a minute, and this looks good, and it is quite tender. Yeah, so I can't imagine that it's going to be horrible. I mean, it's got, like most breads, you know how you got this little bit of crust? It has that crust. So I'm rather excited. Yeah. I've noticed that what I perceive as a small bite is actually a large bite, and that was too big of a bite. That's really good, and it is very moist, and it has like the texture of banana bread, but it tastes like a brownie, and it's delicious. I would put this with a nice scoop of ice cream, some caramel drizzle, or I would even go as far as, when making it, instead of maybe the fudge, although no, I'd leave the fudge in there, add either some peanut butter chocolate chips or some milk chocolate chips would be good in that, or even some nuts, some walnuts would be wonderful, chopped up and put in that. But that in and of itself is amazing. Good job, Charlotte, on finding that recipe. I really, it's good. Hands down good. Give this one a try. It's easy, has very few ingredients. It would even be kid friendly in the kitchen to, let the kids make. That would be something that I would love to see Abby make, and I think she would be successful at it. And that's important when you are looking for recipes for youngins to do that are, if they're starting out, especially when they're starting out, you want to find something that, in all honesty, is as easy as possible. That way they're successful. You want them to be successful in the beginning. That way they get a sense of accomplishment, and it allows them to really enjoy cooking or baking or things like that. I wouldn't hand Abby the recipe to that Twix bar cake we made last week and expect her to like baking afterwards. That was a challenging cake. This one, though, on the other hand, very simplistic, has a ton of flavor. It's like brownie met banana bread minus the banana flavor. It tastes wonderful, and there are so many things you could do with this bread, whether we put stuff in it or on top of it afterwards or serve it with it. That's just awesome. But like I said, give this a try. If you do, let me know down in the comments below or down on our Facebook group. Either the Facebook group or we do have at mine or on Instagram, because I'm sure I'll have pictures of this at some point on there. And let me know either way. So next week, I don't know for sure what we're doing for dinner. I got a couple ideas. Chris has this recipe. We call it Chris's dish, but it's an Italian sausage meal. It's noodles, Italian sausage, bell peppers. It's got a bunch of cool stuff in it, and we haven't had it in a very, very long time, but it is quite delicious. It was good enough that every time she would serve it when we first got together, everybody asked for the recipe. Everybody. And that's how I got the name Chris's Dish. We would like to throw that up as a video. We would also like to do Oh, it's called Hoover's Stew. And it is probably the most simple meal you'll ever make. It was created during the Great Depression. It originally was pretty much just tomatoes and hot dogs and macaroni noodles done up to be a stew because it was cheap. It was during the Depression. That's what people could afford. And that was almost like a luxury meal because it was created in the heart of the Depression back in the 1920s. And the recipe I have changes that up just a little bit, but not by much. We just don't use hot dogs, we use sausage instead. But I would like to try that. Desserts, I don't know exactly what we're gonna do as far as dessert next week, but I'm really got a hankering to do a pie. It's gotten nice outside and pie season is just right around the corner. And I have not made a pie and it seems like, I don't know, the last 45, 50 years. Although I know it's only been like maybe a month or two. But it sounds amazing. So I'm leaning more towards a pie, but who knows? That's a week away. So until next week, oh, and I am gonna try to do some canning this week, but no promises on that. If I don't get it in this weekend, it will for sure be next weekend. I'm covering shifts at work at the moment to kind of help buffer all the craziness that has been me and Chris's life over the last month or so. And so it's made it hard to get that third video in with any regularity, but I will do my best because there's a handful of things I need to can and I want to do videos on. One of them being a red curry chicken that I love curry anything. And then I want to show you guys how to do chili beans, both white and regular chili beans. Is another thing I want to do. Plus we'll take another look at the garden here before too much longer. So anyhow, till next week for dinner, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I never take you guys for granted and appreciate every second you spend with me. Tell somebody else that you love them and love them very much. It's going to make them smile. They may need to hear it. You know, it's going to make you smile. It's going to make you feel good on the inside to tell them that. And if you make them some of this hot fudge brownie bread, they're going to know that you love them. And it's going to lead to hours of conversation. Probably a giant glass of milk. You know, and that you may be able to make a new friend, right? Neighbors, guy walking dog down the street, family of 3 walking their, you know, on a walk. All possibilities that could try a piece of this. All right, so till next week for dinner, I love you. I'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.